Hello folks, welcome to Legacy IAS Academy. In this video, we'll be discussing a current affair topic presented to you by faculty Sushma KP. So what is the topic that we will be looking into today? How the US enacted the two-term limit for the presidents. In this video, we'll be discussing about why is it in use, how is it relevant to your UPSC, there is a GS paper 2. We will also be looking into your 22nd Amendment of US Constitution. At the same point of time, we will see how it has any impact for India or not. Look at this. The 22nd Amendment to the US Constitution, which was ratified in 1951, says that no one can be elected more than twice as president. Now we will see as to why that was done. Look at this. Recently, okay, yes, something that happened in 1951, that's what we spoke about, right? This was already enacted. Constitutional amendment was done. That was your 22nd Constitutional Amendment stated that a president of USA cannot run to election for more than 2 terms. That he cannot be in election for more than 2 terms. One term is for 4 years. So he can't be a president for more than 8 years. So this was done in almost 1951 itself. Now why is this topic again coming into news? Because the current president of United States of America, Donald Trump, is already on his second term. Wherein, you know how Donald Trump is, his quotes are more of informal in nature. Look at this. I have raised a lot of money for the next race. I assume I cannot use that for myself because there is a limitation on the second, more than 2 terms running. He also claims telling that he speaks to the Republicans. It is not that there is completely no chance at all, unless and until you, that is Donald Trump says the Republicans, until and unless you feel that yes, he's good, let's give him more terms. So he has opened up an idea or a conversation which says that can this 22nd Amendment be changed? Can the concept of president not running for more than 2 terms be changed? So he has opened up this debate. Now let's see in the course of the video whether what had led for them to fix the 2 term limit. Was it there from the beginning of the constitution, or what was so special in this particular year that they had to bring in this amendment? And look at this. All of this came at the backdrop of your 22nd Constitutional Amendment and the backdrop of your President Franklin D. Roosevelt, wherein he consecutively became the president for 4 times, almost from your 1930s to your 1940s up until his death. He was the only person to have held or to have become the president for 4 times in the history of US. Why was this so special? Why did he hold the office for so long? One main reason was the people at that point of time felt this was the period of Second World War. Look at this, 1930s, 1940s, the period of Second World War, and they felt they needed continuity. They needed continuity in times of emergency. Remember these words well, because very first time when the constitution was enacted, your US constitution, somewhere around 1789, the question came in there also. Should we consider keeping a limit on how many times a president should run? Many people back then, while during the constitution making also, they did not agree to the fact that we should put a cap or limit on the number of times that a president can run. They were not okay with it, so that conversation fell through. But slowly, what happened? Multiple other presidents came in, and few presidents were of the opinion that I will not run more than 2 times. So that kind of became a unwritten law. People started following that until and unless Franklin D. Roosevelt comes into the picture. After this, the Republicans and Democrats passed a resolution and passed an amendment. That was your 22nd amendment, which said that no, at any cost we cannot let this happen. We cannot allow any other person to have the hold of this kind. That is, they cannot have any other Roosevelt hold on the constitution, on the USA like this for more number of times. So we are going to cap the limit, and we are going to tell that you can run for election, US president election, only 2 times. This is the gist. Now, what does the 22nd amendment talk about? The 22nd amendment says you can be the US president for 2 terms. Each term is 4 years. So in total you can be for 8 years. It also speaks about the vice president, wherein even if you are a vice president, let's say you can become the president for 2 full terms, provided that, I'll give you one example. See, Lyndon Johnson ka example you take, you'll understand this better. He was the vice president during your John F. Kennedy, where during the John F. Kennedy ka assassination, he stepped in, the vice president, Lyndon Johnson, stepped in to become the president. Here, he served as a president for 14 months. The very next year, the very next term, after the completion of this term, he also contested for elections and he won. Now, if you look at it, he's almost served for 2 terms. First he served and then second he served. Understand this. This is what his 22nd amendment speaks, that the vice president, if he has served the term of the president less than 2 years, then he can contest for 2 full terms. Understanding? Here, technically, he has not completed the 2 full terms, so he can compete. Here also, he could become the president. Here also, he could become the president. Then the very next year, he didn't contest the elections. But if he wanted, he could have contested the next term also. So 8+ years of presidency is also possible for the vice president. But for the president, it is a strict 2 term only. This is what your 22nd amendment states. Why did they come up with this? Like we discussed, look at 1789 onwards, when your US constitution came into effect, they were deciding whether we have to make sure bring in 1789 when the US constitution came into effect, they were again discussing should the president of USA have certain limits set. Again, no one agreed to them, so it left on. Again, 1803, it was introduced. Again, 1803 also same solution. They didn't reach a consensus and it was dropped. 1796, President George Washington completed 2 terms, and when he was asked for third term, he strictly declined. He said he will not participate for the third term. So what happened from henceforth, the presidents started following the same rule. That is, they would only participate for 2 terms. After the second term, they would reject it. So this sort of became an unwritten law that all the upcoming presidents started following. The same was followed by Thomas Jefferson also in 1809. After this, he did not agree to contest for the third term. Presidents also, until and unless this changed in 1872 under your Ulysses S. Grant. Wherein after 2 terms, he decided to contest for the third term. Again, it didn't materialize because of huge issues back then. They wanted economic burden. So a lot of things combined, this didn't materialize. Up until your 1933-1945, that is, he was the longest serving US president under your Roosevelt. Again, we discussed why, because this was a period of Second World War. And also people felt that they needed the continuity. One of the reasons in the very beginning, In 1789, they didn't agree for putting a cap or limit on the president term was for the same thing. What if an emergency scenario happens and the continuity needs to be provided at that point of time? So we shouldn't put a cap on the limit is what they had held at that point of time. This is the reason why they didn't want to put a limit. Now post this, the Republicans came in running telling that no, we cannot let anyone else do the same thing because then it will become like a king-like faction. They will have hold like the Roosevelt hold, and we cannot let this happen. So we will cap the limit and we will keep it for your 2 terms. Why the 2 terms? See, based on these histories. Okay, so on this they decided we will cap this limit. The Democrats were at that point of telling by doing this you are not honoring the legacy of Roosevelt. But finally, after lengthy discussions, they finally agreed that yes, finally 2 terms is what we will go ahead. Then in this also a lot of debates came up whether it should be 1 term for 6 years or 2 terms for 4 years each. Now finally they stuck to 2 terms for 4 years each. This is with regard to your US president. Now when we see and compare it with respect to your Indian president or Indian prime minister for that matter, we do not have any such limit or capping and as to how many times a person can enter the office or run for the office. Understanding? We've reached the end of the content. If you like our content, subscribe to our channel, hit the like button and share it along with your friends. Thank you.